What's up, world? Let me tell you about this beard growth oil I got from 12 tribes on Earth. 8 ounces of oily goodness with a nozzle that prevents sprays and spills, and soft ingredients that make it perfect addition to anyone's morning routine. From coconut to castor, all these oils are hand chosen. After using this herbal blend, the biggest thing I noticed is how soft, how strong my hair was, and how good I feel. Pick up your bottle today and make your beard the star of the show.
Shalom, family. Good to see you all. Hope you're doing well. I put up in my community tab that I hit a milestone with my business and I had 10,000 sales from 2024 to now. And somebody came in my post and wrote, "Well, you ain't doing nothing for the starving children." And my thing is, I don't even know why you wrote that to me. And if you so concerned about starving children, what are you doing for them? What are you doing? Okay, I can't even tell you the countless donations I have made all throughout my life. And for you, yeah, I know what you were doing. You were just being a hater, but that's okay. I did block you, but come on now. you know, I love when other people go to folk, what are you going to do with the starving children? Well, what are you doing about them? How many of them starving children do you have at your house feeding them? Okay, please. So, anyway, y'all, let's get to this. Now, Iran has come out in the media and said they are no longer making any more attempts to talk to Donald Trump. They are uninterested and they are not responding, and they really are not responding to Donald Trump now. Meanwhile, Donald Trump is all over the internet talking about they're begging for a peace deal. No, they're not. Iran has come out and said they aren't even talking to Donald Trump at this point because so many of the ceasefires have failed, the peace deals have failed. They said they are no longer going to negotiate with Donald Trump. They will just wait for the next president to get sworn in, and then Iran will approach the U.S. to negotiations. But they said they're not doing nothing with the U.S. until 2029. Okay? And they're also saying they are going to keep the Straits of Hormuz closed until 2029. It will not open up until Donald Trump is completely gone. Now, what is that going to do for the world economy? I'm telling you, it's going to tank the world's economy. It's going to tank everything here in the U.S. too. Now, Donald Trump has been lying. If you have not been depending on the Strait of Hormuz, why is there all this chatter online about running out of diesel fuel soon? Why is there chatter all online about running out of motor oil and running out of oil in general? So you said we don't get nothing from them, but so what's the blockades about? The naval blockade is still up. Why would you block something that you get absolutely nothing from? That's why I'm saying Donald Trump is lying. He is lying. If America was not getting anything from the Straits of Hormuz, what the hell are you blocking it for? Why are you trying to fight for control? You know Donald Trump is fighting for control over the Straits of Hormuz. Why? If you don't get nothing from there, why? See, he's lying. The US does get oil and gas from there and fertilizer too, because the farmers are online saying if the Straits of Hormuz don't open, they won't have fertilizer. Okay, so what are you talking about, Donald Trump? We don't need nothing from there. Obviously you do. Why would you want to take it over and block it all up and everything, and we don't need nothing from there? Your actions, it's not the words that come out of your mouth. See, this is how we got to deal with your people. It's not the words that come out of your mouth. We got to watch the actions that the person is carrying out, and his actions is telling me the U.S. do depend on the Strait of Hormuz, and Donald Trump is lying about the whole thing. Now, Iran done bombed your ass all up, took out military bases and everything, and you're still sitting here talking about they're begging you. Who the hell would beg Donald Trump at this point? Not even the countries that you're not at war with are going to come and beg to you. Many of these countries are upset over the tariffs, and he done kicked up the tariffs again. They're all upset over that. Nobody's going to come and beg to Donald Trump about anything. They're not. And the only reason why the war has slowed down, America's out of munition. So what do you have to fight? Well, you don't have nothing to fight with. You might have a few drones and a few things left, but America is out of munition. So really, they're backing Donald Trump up in a really bad place. He can't continue the war for the long run, and they're not going to take over the Straits of Hormuz because Iran just met with Oman. Iran and Oman both border the Straits of Hormuz. They just made a deal and excluded Donald Trump altogether, that they will remain in control, and mainly Iran, they're going to remain in control of the Straits of Hormuz. They said they never had any intentions of letting Donald Trump in on any deals to control the Straits of Hormuz. You know what it is? Donald Trump sees dollar signs, y'all. He sees all of the money that can be made if you control the Straits of Hormuz, and he wants that money. He don't care about this country. He don't care about our young people in the military. He don't care about nothing. He just want the Straits of Hormuz so he has access to all of that money from those oil vessels coming in and out of there. That's what he wants control. It's all about money. It has nothing. He will sacrifice every service member out there to gain control of the Straits of Hormuz. That's the sad part. But being that he doesn't have much to fight with now, he really can't do a big takeover at all. But Iran has said everything Donald Trump is saying to the media is false. Nothing is true. He just said, I just heard maybe 2 days ago, we're close to a deal. They said it's all lies. They're not even talking to him. So, y'all, this thing is one big old mess. It really, truly is. All right, let me share my screen. Please give me a 1 if you can see my screen. Make sure you follow this, because y'all, the fact that they're telling Donald Trump no more negotiations, they'll negotiate with the new president coming in 2029. Look at the writing on the wall. This is the Most High, for real. This is the Most High. Thank you for the ones. And he is showing us it's really coming to an end. because if the world can't get their gas and oil, this is going to be a global collapse. And it's one that will definitely include the US. And just imagine the world is going to blame Donald Trump and Netanyahu for the entire thing. That's what's going to happen. Netanyahu and Donald Trump will be blamed for everything. They're not going to blame Iran. They're going to blame them. Thank you for the ones.
While putting myself at risk of sounding like a broken record, Iran has just come out and said that they are not willing to reopen the Strait of Hormuz, at least not until the end of Donald Trump's second term in 2029. This is coming from a senior Iranian source close to the ambassador, and it appears like the Strait of Hormuz is going to stay closed for a very long time. This is because Donald Trump's wishy-washy attitude towards Iran. Are we going to bomb them? Are we not going to bomb them? As well as concessions that need to be made by the United States that aren't being made by the United States. So it looks like we're not getting a nuclear deal. The Strait of Hormuz is not opening, and the world is much worse off than before this war was started by Donald Trump and the rest of his insane regime. Follow me to stay in the loop. This story is breaking right now, so I'm sure that we're going to get future developments. And make sure you share this video to help people understand that the reason that gas prices are rising is because of Donald Trump and the rest of his ridiculous administration.
Iran just delivered a message to Donald Trump, and it wasn't an offer, it was a verdict. No deal. Not now. Not for the next 2.5 years. Not until his term is over. This morning, a senior advisor to Iran's parliament leader, Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf, confirmed it directly. Iran has no intention of negotiating with Trump for the remainder of his presidency. While Trump insists he's, quote, low-keying negotiations, claiming Iran will collapse under pressure on its own, Tehran's response was blunt. We can wait 2 years, maybe longer. The advisor called publicly confirming talks with Washington sheer folly, saying the winning strategy is denial, ambiguity, and strategic patience. And Iran isn't waiting empty-handed. The Wall Street Journal reported this morning that Iran's strikes have already caused an estimated $13 billion in damage to U.S. military assets, 2,000 missile and drone strikes, 20 facilities across 8 countries, at least 42 aircraft damaged or destroyed, and that number is only preliminary. Then came the escalation. Iran's Revolutionary Guard announced its missiles have been upgraded to change course mid-flight, evading air defense systems entirely, and can be redirected to a new target even after launch. That includes the Khaybar Shekin, the Fatah hypersonic missiles, and the Imad ballistic missile. In plain terms, the deterrence Washington was counting on may no longer hold. So what was Trump doing while all of this unfolded? Posting pictures of himself playing golf. While Americans face grocery prices they can't afford, rent they can't cover, and healthcare being stripped away, the president chose imagery of leisure over leadership. No press conference, no public accounting for a war that hasn't ended. And the numbers back up the anger. According to CNN's own polling breakdown, every member of Trump's cabinet is underwater. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth sits at -22, the worst approval rating for a wartime defense secretary in modern history, worse than Donald Rumsfeld during the height of Iraq war backlash. J.D. Vance sits at -17. On jobs specifically, Trump's net approval has collapsed 32 points since the start of his second term. Only 29% of Americans believe the country is on the right track. 5 months into a war, some officials declared one on day 12 and destroyed on day 14. American forces are still deployed. The Strait of Hormuz is still closed. Iran still has its uranium. A war justified by declarations that didn't hold up. A president managing the fallout with silence and a golf cart. And a country that is now numerically, measurably out of patience. So here's the question. When a foreign government tells an American president to his face that he isn't even worth negotiating with, and the polling backs them up, who actually lost this?
Iran now says they've ruled out all future negotiations with Donald Trump and are planning to wait out his term before making a deal with us. That means the war will likely continue until January 20th, 2029 at least. The latest doctrine explicitly rejects the notion that a standard diplomatic breakthrough is even possible. An advisor to Iran's chief negotiator noted that publicly confirming negotiations with Washington is sheer folly. Instead, Iran's goal is to intentionally drag out the process, keeping Washington guessing through a mix of vague diplomatic messaging and hard internal posturing. Iran thinks they have the upper hand. For them, winning does not simply mean signing a new comprehensive pact. It means keeping the regime intact and letting the clock run out on Trump's second term. Iran still isn't even talking to the United States. Any dialogue is restricted to low-level message exchanges through intermediaries like Oman, and they're not focused on a grand peace plan. There's also been a lot of conflicting messaging coming from the United States. U.S. officials have said an imminent deal was in the works, but now Trump is saying we're taking a low-key approach and semi-negotiating.
Hey, it's Joe from Georgia. This is huge news. This is bombshell news coming out of Iran, and it's concerning the peace deal with America. Well, folks, there is no peace deal. And the Iranian Revolutionary Guard leaders have came out today and said that they, along with their leaders, will not sign a peace deal with America until January of 2029. They won't even come to the table and speak directly to this administration. So they've played this before. They did it to Jimmy Carter. Yes, Jimmy Carter lost, folks. I was there because of this 400 and some odd days that Iran had held our hostages in Iran, and people voted for Ronald Reagan. So folks, now the Iranian Revolutionary Guard says there will be no peace plan, that they can wait out Donald Trump's administration. So folks, it's nowhere near over. I'm just wondering, what is the next plan coming out of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue? Is it just to say we won, declare victory, and move on? I think that's what the plan is from the president, but that's not the plan from the Iranians.
Iran is giving Donald Trump the Jimmy Carter treatment, and I could not be happier for him. They said that they will not make a deal with the United States until Donald Trump is out of office. And for those of you who do not know, don't remember, or weren't born yet, in 1979, workers at the American embassy in Tehran were held hostage by Iranian revolutionaries, and they refused to make a deal with then President Jimmy Carter. It wasn't until the inauguration of Ronald Reagan that they made a deal with him. In fact, that deal was cut on Inauguration Day. So Iran likely is going to Donald Trump. We've played this game before. You should know this. Like, you were literally alive and you think you're going to have us by the short and curlies? Oh, no, no, no. We're going to have you by that little chia pet that's living on the top of your head. And you know this has to hurt Trump's ego, because unlike Jimmy Carter, Donald Trump has no redeeming qualities whatsoever. Jimmy Carter, you could say, was not the best president the United States has ever had, but he was a good, decent, and kind man. Donald Trump doesn't even have that working for him, and Iran knows that. And Iran knows that he's purely driven by ego, and this is going to drive him absolutely insane and force him to lash out online, further embarrassing himself and the United States. They know how to play him like a violin.
So Iran told Trump to kick rocks. Yeah, they said, we're not going to go negotiate with you anymore. We will wait for the next president. This after he said the deal's on the way, that he might just not make a deal and leave. And Iran is tired of his idle threats and his real threats and his back and forth and his BS. Not only did they make a list of crazy things that they wanted to get a peace treaty in the war, and then they said, you know what, we're just not going to deal with you. We're going to do with you like we did to Carter. We're going to wait for you to leave because we cannot negotiate with you. So Trump has the choice to get the hell out of there, continue with doing his war, but Iran's finished with them. Their whatever, I believe, High Chancellor, whatever they call him over there, said, yeah, no, we're going to do like we did in the 70s with Jimmy Carter, and you can just leave and we'll deal with the next president.
Iranian state media saying just in the last couple of minutes that even though President Trump says a deal is likely to be signed tomorrow, Iranian negotiators have not agreed to that.
Hey everybody, it is June 13th, 2026. It's currently 4:35 p.m. Central Standard Time here in Houston, Texas. And if you've been checking out the news today, you know there has been a lot developing on the conflict between the United States and Iran. And we are hearing right now that President Donald Trump earlier today announced that a deal is going to be signed electronically tomorrow. Now, we've already heard back from the IRGC, who said this is false. They said we are very close to a deal, but there is not going to be a signing. So we are still hearing that there is conflict between the two different stories. I'm going to be sharing with you the latest headlines. In addition to that, we're hearing that overnight, the United States was shooting down Iranian drones in the Strait of Hormuz. So there is still attacks and fighting going on. While we're hearing we are on the cusp of a deal. Now, let me know your thoughts. Next week, are we going to be seeing headlines that a deal has been signed, or are we going to be hearing that things have fallen apart and we are still at war? Drop it in the comments, war or deal. Hit that like button, and let's take a look at the latest headlines so that way you can see it for yourself. Coming out just a little while ago today, the headlines. Let's take a look here. Now, Trump says that Iran peace deal could be signed by Sunday tomorrow, with the Strait of Hormuz to open shortly after. U.S. President says in an online post he reserves ultimate alternative if Tehran refuses to sign, aka I will blow them up if they refuse to sign. Now, also, Iran says the signing of Islamabad memorandum will not take place on Sunday. You can see all of these coming out today, the back and forth between the United States and Iran. Now, in addition to that, as I mentioned to you, take a look at some of the posts coming out on X are reporting on this. Now, CENTCOM has hardened U.S. military presence around the Strait of Hormuz to ensure traffic can flow ahead of the Iranian deal being signed. No letting up. Trump knows not to trust the mullahs. Iran launched several one-way attack drones trying to strike commercial ships in the Strait of Hormuz. U.S. forces say that they shut them all down, though, with a CENTCOM stating that the corridor remains open for transit except for Iran. And also, we're hearing, take a look, Iranian hardliners, they are protesting against the emerging deal with the United States. Protesters attacked the draft. And Arachi's messaging, warning, the reported terms involve deeper concessions and saying no understanding with the U.S. would be valid without Mojtaba Khamenei's approval. And so we are hearing right now that there is a lot of conflict. There's tension between the IRGC and the negotiators. We're going to be seeing where we go from here. But again, let me know your thoughts. Are we going to have a deal?
Okay, well, apparently no, because they said they're not dealing with Donald Trump no more. They're not dealing with him anymore. They will wait for whoever's elected and becomes the president in 2029. So they're tired. The Iranians are saying they have tried repeatedly to come up with deals with the U.S., and every single one has been breached. And Donald Trump is making threats on them, taking out their power, taking out all their bridges. And he's just constantly making a barrage of threats on them, threatening to take over the Strait of Hormuz and all this stuff. And they're tired. They're tired. So Donald Trump being all in the media, running his mouth about close to a deal, just know none of it is true. Iran is not corroborating what Donald Trump is saying at all. You know, so they pretty much cut Donald Trump off. You know, at the end of the day, the ones that are going to suffer are going to be the people, y'all. It's going to be us. That's why we got to be ready for anything. The shortages are coming. The high gas prices are not going to go away. They're not. The food is going to go up because you don't have anything, you know, you don't have all the oil and everything coming into the country or going into other countries. And in fact, I think I'm going to do a few more lives on, you know, the different locations around the world where they have ran out of gas or they have shortages and many of their service stations are closed. And even here in the U.S. But the situation is about to get bad. And Iran seems to be in a position now they're not budging at all. You know, and I mean, what is America going to do? You really need to get out of there. You didn't win. You don't have any more munition. What are you hanging around for? And I feel sorry for our servicemen and women out there. I haven't forgotten how this government was not properly feeding them while they're going through all this turmoil over there. Listen, I just pray the ones that are from our community are safe from any harm. But I have to tell you, this is not going to be good for them, because Donald Trump, if you couldn't do nothing else, you should have made sure the men and women that are serving in the Middle East should be fed. How embarrassing. It was so bad, y'all. Even the Iranians were stepping up to say, look, we'll feed your service members. That's embarrassing. The people you are warring with is offering to feed your people. Unbelievable. So, y'all, I'm going to go ahead and conclude. I do have an upcoming live at 1:45, and this one's going to be on Courtney Clenny. She only got 6 years for unaliving Christian Obumseli. 6 years. That's all she got. 6 years. And Carmelo Anthony got 35 years for defending himself. That is privilege. You unalive your boyfriend. You were abusive to him the entire time. And then you eventually unalive him, and she got 6 years. And y'all, she's already been in there over 3 years. They said she'll literally be out in 2 years. She'll be free. So we will talk about that. You know, I guess Christian Obumseli shouldn't have been bad-mouthing Black women. At the end of the day, look at what happened to you, man. I'm just saying. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your support. And be on the lookout for my upcoming lives. And don't forget to pick up your hair products. Shalom, family.